What you should do is center this.
Playwright D.W. Jacobs first saw R. Buckminster Fuller lecture in the late 60s.
My brother called me up one day and said, "Oh, you got to come and listen to this guy talk." And I said, "Well, what does he talk about?" And my brother said, "Well, he talks about everything."
That's no exaggeration. Bucky, as he was called, talked about physics, the environment, housing, commerce, transportation.
I went in the afternoon, he was talking. I went to a class, came back, he was still talking. Went to dinner, came back, he was still talking. Went to rehearsal, came back, he was still talking.
He went on lecturing like this for weeks. Bucky was probably best known as the architect who popularized the geodesic dome. He was a futurist. In 1933, he invented a car shaped like a blimp. Once the engine was finessed, he believed the design would make it easy to fly. He imagined underwater settlements and homes delivered by zeppelins to remote places. But what inspired Jacobs was Bucky's ideas for solving the world's problems. Bucky wanted to meet every human being's needs using as few resources as possible.
So I then said, I think my first grand strategy of finding out how to use the world's resources so they will take care of everybody would come back then to how to take care of his living equipment.
It was a real tonic. I mean, the 60s were so chaotic and so troubling. And it's like your grandfather saying, you know, it's okay, we can fix this, you know.
Jacobs would go on to help found San Diego Rep. He never forgot Bucky's ideas. 16 years ago, he staged a one-man play at the Rep called R. Buckminster Fuller, The History and Mystery of the Universe.
It is now highly feasible to take care of everyone on the planet at a higher standard of living than any have ever known. It no longer has to be you or me. Selfishness is unnecessary.
The play was a hit, and it's now back for the Rep's 40th anniversary.
I didn't expect the broad appeal it would have. I knew there'd be a niche market for it, but it's not a play for intellectuals. It's a play for anybody who's worried about their life and the world around them.
Closer and closer and tighter and getting...
Ron Campbell, who played Bucky back in 2000, is reprising the role. He's played Bucky close to 600 times.
Kind of like playing King Lear a little bit, but you're also Iago in places, and you're also, you know, you're almost every archetype he touches upon. That's why I keep coming back to this role. It's such a good part.
But Campbell hasn't played Bucky for 6 years. He's been traveling the world as a clown with Cirque du Soleil.
The clowns were also our truth speakers, our brief abstract chroniclers of the time, as Shakespeare said. And that's exactly what Bucky was. And he was just as open, naked, vulnerable as the most gifted clown.
Jacobs and Campbell looked to silent film comedians to achieve Bucky's physical persona on stage.
We talked a lot about the body language of Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd and the silent comedy comedians, that very erect, bird-like kind of open-hearted readiness to tackle the biggest problem.
Jacobs sees the character of Bucky as part entertainer and part Old Testament prophet.
I grew to believe Bucky was the great testifier, you know, of the 20th century and of the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. So the play is kind of based on that, the idea of telling the truth and about your past, present, future.
That's what you want to find out. The truth about everything.
Angela Carone, KPBS News.